Radio host, what's the wildest call you've ever received on air? I used to work as a sound engineer for a late-night talk radio show, where people call in anonymously to share secrets. Usually it's cheating spouses or workplace drama, but one night we got a call that still keeps me up at night. 2:30 a.m. on a Wednesday, this woman called in. Her voice was calm, almost eerily so. She said her name was Maggie from Phoenix, and she needed to confess something from 3 years ago. I killed my neighbor's dog, she said matter-of-factly, but everyone thinks it was an accident. I nearly choked on my coffee. In the 5 years of the show, I had never heard someone confess to actual violence. She explained that her neighbor Jeff had this German Shepherd named Max. Beautiful dog, but Jeff was a terrible owner. Left him chained in the backyard constantly, barely fed him, never walked him. Maggie had tried talking to Jeff multiple times and even called animal control, but nothing changed. One night, Max broke free and ended up in Maggie's backyard, drinking from her sprinkler system. The dog was so weak he could barely stand. Maggie brought Max inside, fed him properly, and let him sleep on her kitchen floor. She couldn't bear the thought of sending him back to that neglect, so she called her brother Mike, who lived on a ranch 2 hours away. They decided Max would have a better life there and drove him out that same night. Jeff reported Max missing the next morning. He posted flyers, offered rewards, searched everywhere. During the drive to the ranch, Max's collar had fallen off, and Jeff found it in the street a few days later. He assumed his dog had been hit by a car and was dead. Here's where Maggie's voice started breaking. She should have told Jeff that his dog was alive and safe, but Jeff was so genuinely heartbroken that she realized he actually loved the dog. He just didn't know how to care for him properly. Jeff started going to therapy, joined pet loss support groups, and began volunteering at animal shelters on weekends. For 3 months, Max lived happily on Mike's ranch, while Jeff grieved and slowly healed from the loss. A loss which no one could anticipate would hit him this hardly, as it was almost universally understood that he did not really care for the dog anyway, so surely he wouldn't miss him once he was gone and living a better life elsewhere. A life where someone actually cared about Max and fed him and give him a real home. Unfortunately for Maggie, the story wasn't nearly over for her. During those 3 months, Maggie lived in a constant state of internal warfare. She'd drive past Jeff's house and see him sitting on his porch, staring at the empty yard where Max's chain used to be, and her stomach would twist into knots. She'd rehearse conversations in her head, walking up to his door, knocking, and saying, "Jeff, I need to tell you something about Max." But then she'd remember how neglected Max had been, how his ribs showed through his fur, how he'd barely lifted his head when she first found him. Her brother Mike would send photos of Max running free across the ranch, his coat shining, his eyes bright with life he'd never had before. Those pictures should have brought her peace, but instead they felt like evidence in a trial, where she was both the defendant and the judge. Every night, she'd lie awake weighing Jeff's pain against Max's freedom, wondering if there was ever a right choice in a situation built entirely on wrong ones. Maggie, already torn up by the grief of watching Jeff go through all that pain, knowing she could stop it at any moment by telling him that Max was alive and having to deal with her act of kindness backfiring on her, had slowly started to move past this and accept that she caused pain, but ultimately she gave a dog a better life, or so she thought. Then Max got out of the ranch fence and was actually killed by a truck on the highway. Maggie was devastated. If she'd left Max alone, maybe Jeff would have eventually learned to be a better owner and the dog would still be alive.